This is a 160 Q&A practice test. Plaintiff attorney, Mr. Jones, capital Jones. Defense attorney, Ms. MS period, Reyes, capital Reyez. And we will start with the plaintiff. Ready? All right, and I'm usually the one that does most of the unloading when I'm there. All right, do you know where the truck that you were unloading on that day was from? What company? No, I don't recall. What was the first thing you did in preparation to unload the truck? Well, I got on the forklift, went to the truck, talked to the driver. What do we need to unload? He pointed it out. We began to unload. When you looked at the load, did you do anything to change the length of the forks? No, sir. Which forks were on the forklift at the time you were unloading this particular truck? The extended forks. And did you think you needed the extended forks in order to properly offload the material that was on this truck? Number one, these forks are left on the forklift 99% of the time. We usually take them off when it's necessary to take them off for a smaller load, something real small, or a small tight area where you have to work. So the answer would be they were on there, but yes, I did need them to unload the truck. Okay, well, when I went out there with them on, not knowing. Like I say, we normally use them for all our loads if we can. We don't take them off. Have you ever taken the extended forks off? I have. What was your reason to do that? Usually a small work area, a smaller pallet, and like inside the warehouse, if we have a tight area or something, and you can use the shorter forks. I mean, it just cuts off 1.5 feet, so you can back up and, maneuver better. Okay, did you ask anything about the load that you were offloading in terms of the weight? No, I did not. Describe what you were offloading from this truck on the date of the accident, June 7, 2009. At the time of the incident? Yes. It was 2 pallets, approximately 2 foot square, and it was loaded with banding material, approximately 3 foot high each pallet. At the time I started to unload it, I asked the driver about handling both of them at the same time. I want to be careful how I say it. I came up to unload the truck and we're to unload these 2 pallets, actually not knowing what the pallets were on the pallets. We unload a lot of those and this sort of thing. I had never unloaded. I had moved these kinds of pallets with the banding on it, but I had never unloaded them off a truck before. Now, are you talking about you had never unloaded off of a truck this banding material? Correct. Or how about the size of pallet that the banding material was on? Had you? Yes. You had unloaded that? Yes. Type of pallet? I had. When you first went out to the truck to unload this banding material, were there only a total of 2 pallets that you were unloading, or had you already unloaded some material before this accident occurred? I really can't recall. I mean, the incident stands out, and I can't recall positively one way or the other. All right, so you don't have an independent recollection that you may have offloaded a couple of pallets, just single pallets before this load where the incident occurred? Honestly, I can't say. I think I did, but I'm guessing, and you don't want that. Don't want that. Don't want to get a guess. Just your best recollection. I'm going to show you a photograph. We'll mark this. Can I just borrow these? We'll mark the first photograph as Exhibit 1. I'd like you to take a look at that and tell me if you can tell me what's depicted in the photograph. The 2 pallets we were unloading. All right, and this is a photograph taken after the pallets had fallen off and were on the ground. Correct. Had they been moved in any way from their position after they fell off when the photograph was taken? If you can tell, may call for speculation. You can answer, I don't believe so. All right, and this is the banding material that we're talking about. Correct. And at the time you were offloading the material, you were attempting to carry both pallets of banding material. Is that correct? Correct. All right. When you first pulled up to the truck, did you have any type of a conversation with the driver of the truck before actually going in and picking up those 2 pallets? Yes. Tell me about what your discussion entailed. I believe I said it earlier that I asked if he, because he pointed at these to be unloaded, if we could get them both at the same time. The forks were plenty long enough, in my opinion. And he said, oh yeah, I think so. Well, don't quote me on that, what he said, but he said yes. He went to the opposite side of the truck. I pulled in, putting the forks through the 2 pallets. He told me when they were through, and he said, they're good, or something to that effect. And I said, okay, and I raised the forks. I guess you want me to go ahead with what I did, or let me stop you for a moment. Let me just, for visual help here, okay, I'm going to show you another photograph, and we'll mark this as Exhibit 2 to the deposition. Do you recognize what that photograph depicts? Do I recognize it? Yes. All right. Does that appear to be taken the day of the accident, and is the photograph of the truck that you were unloading? Yes, it does. All right. Are you actually in that photograph? Yes. And could you point out which one is you in the photograph? The guy standing above the injured man. Okay, you're fairly close to the trailer. I am. It looks like you're wearing a blue shirt. Yes. And jeans and boots. Yes. All right, and the person that's lying on the ground right in front of you, was that the driver of the truck? Yes, it was. And this photograph was taken shortly after the incident had occurred. Yes. And the material, or the pallets we see directly to the left of the driver, are those the same pallets that were depicted in Exhibit 1? Yes. All right, the word list. I don't believe we have any words for the word list, but please give me a quick second here to double check. No, there are no words on the word list, and that will conclude our 160 Q&A practice test.